celebrations interrupted in Saskatoon. The close call that saw patrons quickly moved. The number of active wildfires climbs in Saskatchewan. What's behind the dramatic increase? And a Saskatoon-born swimmer going the distance.
This is CTV News with Chantel Saunders.
Good evening. Saskatoon's Canada Day celebrations had an unexpected disruption when a pane of glass at River Landing shattered and crashed to the ground below. As Keenan Sorokon reports, this isn't the first time we've seen something like this happen along the riverbank.
Then I meant, it's raining glass, and we headed outside right away.
Saskatoon's Canada Day celebrations were briefly interrupted when a pane of glass high up on Nutrient Tower, Saskatchewan's tallest building, shattered and fell on the plaza below. Despite estimates of more than 50,000 people in the area ahead of the annual fireworks display, no one was hurt. With first responders already nearby, the area was quickly cleared for the rest of the night. Organizer Shad Ali says glass raining on his parade is a new one.
Everything went off without a hitch. It didn't really put any kind of a wrinkle in the plans too much. We were able to relocate all of our activities onto the street or nearby park areas, and everything worked pretty well.
And this isn't the first time glass panes have shattered and fallen since the towers at River Landing opened nearly 4 years ago. Just over a month after the area opened to the public, residents of the condo building were warned about the risk of glass panels combusting. A letter from the property manager advised people not to lean on the glass or railings, reassuring residents these were fluke incidents. A staff member of the company that manages the property says this happens more often than people think, but there just aren't many buildings like this in Saskatchewan that are this tall and completely covered in glass exteriors. Keenan Sorokon, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says thousands of lightning strikes have caused a significant jump in active wildfires. As of this afternoon, there are 65 active wildfires, 20 of them which are not contained. CTV's Stacey Hine now on what this means for an already intense wildfire season.
Lightning strikes ignite new wildfires in northwest Saskatchewan, sparking concern for the community of Beauval.
And that South Bay fire, if you see the pictures there, it's a monster right now. I'm just looking at it up there, and it's a monster of a fire.
As of Wednesday afternoon, 65 wildfires are burning in the province. 20 are not contained. When the provincial state of emergency expired on Friday, there were 26 active wildfires reported. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency says thousands of lightning strikes followed by dry conditions caused the number to climb.
The storms that brought the cooler, wetter weather also brought significant lightning with them. And as that area dried out, we have started to pick up more fires, primarily on the western half of the province.
The fires forced 185 people from their homes in Bear Creek Resort and La Planche First Nation. Beauval Mayor Rick Laliberty says his community has declared a state of emergency and has started voluntary evacuations. The SPSA says more communities are considering evacuations.
We also are aware that there's other communities in the area that are currently considering evacuations, and they're monitoring the situation.
The SPSA says 2 significant wildfires continue to burn: the Shoe Fire near Lower Fishing Lake and the Pissou Fire west of La Ronge. Crews are working to contain both, but officials say the fires are not currently threatening communities. At this time, a provincial state of emergency will not be declared, but the SPSA says the situation could quickly change. Stacey Hine, CTV News, Saskatoon.
The NDP has released a plan it says can help rebuild Saskatchewan's northern communities extensively damaged by wildfires. Jasmine Peltier on what it wants to see and how the province plans to proceed.
We're calling on the Sask.
NDP leader Carla Beck was in Prince Albert calling on the Sask Party to take more action in support of rebuilding communities lost to wildfire.
The plan that we're calling for today for the Sask Party to adopt came as a result of countless conversations with those who have been impacted.
The NDP says top priorities for the province should be restoring all healthcare and essential services, establishing a housing plan for those who lost homes to the fire while they rebuild, and creating a housing plan for construction teams working on the rebuild. The NDP is also asking for safe demolition and disposal procedures for leftover waste from the fires, as well as help from Crown corporations for costs associated with restarting utilities like telephone and internet services. The SPSA says there is a recovery task team to work on the rebuild. The Public Safety Office said in a release the team has been formed to identify areas to provide assistance and post-disaster supports, including debris management, living accommodations, and mental health supports.
We have the recovery task team that's set up to work with those communities and focus on the rebuilding and supporting those communities as they do the cleanup.
The SPSA says there are existing programs to help communities protect property and reduce risk, like the Provincial Disaster Assistance Program for eligible communities.
Some of them are provincially funded, some are shared with the federal government, and we will use those over the winter months to ensure that communities and residents in the northern part of the province will be better prepared for 2026.
The province said today in a release additional recovery supports will be announced in the coming days. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
Jeff, it was a warm but windy day today.
Yes, indeed. And we've got some instability, some unstable conditions out there, and that's certainly reflected in the watches and warnings that exist right across Alberta and Saskatchewan, parts of BC and some of the American states. We right now have a severe thunderstorm warning in the area around Rosetown and then Sask Landing and some areas up north as well. The areas in yellow, those are just watch boxes right now. So, yes, we've got some interesting situations going on. There's a possibility of some more thunderstorms is certainly there, and we'll talk about that later on.
The province has issued another overdose alert, which extends past Saskatoon city limits. The Ministry of Health says the alert is in effect for the city of Saskatoon, parts of Aberdeen, Dundurn, Martinsville, Warman, Vanscoy, and other areas of Corman Park. It was issued after a recent drug sample tested by Prairie Harm Reduction in Saskatoon contained sedatives and tranquilizers, some used in animals. The ministry says it's being sold as fentanyl and is in the form of purple chunks. Anyone who takes this drug is at a high risk to overdose, and naloxone may not be entirely effective in reversing the effects. Saskatoon police are again asking for help in identifying a man whose body was found in the South Saskatchewan River last month. They've released this forensic composite sketch of the man found dead in the water on June 22nd. It's believed he was between the ages of 20 and 25, about 5'9" in height and weighing about 140 pounds. Anyone with information on his identity is asked to call police or Crime Stoppers. A Saskatchewan man has been sentenced to a U.S. federal prison after pleading guilty to child pornography offenses south of the border. And a warning, this story contains some graphic details. 32-year-old Matthew Norman Ballack was sentenced on Monday to 46 months in prison, followed by a 6-year term of supervised release after pleading guilty in October to possession of child pornography in Washington, D.C. According to court documents, Ballack contacted an undercover agent on an online dating app, sometimes used by people who have a sexual interest in children. At the time, Ballack thought he was communicating with a pedophile. He then sent the undercover agent 3 videos depicting men sexually assaulting a toddler and boys. A search of Ballack's phone turned up additional videos and photos of child pornography. Upon his release, Matthew Ballack will be registered as a sex offender for a period of 15 years and may be subject to deportation proceedings. One woman was arrested and a handful of people ticketed following a protest north of Prince Albert. RCMP say they were called at about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon to a bridge 20 kilometers north of Prince Albert along Highway 2. Police say protesters were blocking the bridge and hitting vehicles as they drove past. When the 5 men and 2 women refused to get off the roadway, they were ticketed under the Traffic Safety Act for unlawfully walking on the highway. One of the women was taken into custody. RCMP say she was arrested for safety reasons but has not been charged. 2 men were sent to hospital with serious injuries after being stabbed in Prince Albert on Canada Day. Prince Albert police say they were called at about 5:30 yesterday afternoon and determined the pair was attacked by a person who walked into a home on Bowerman Crescent. The victims then got into a vehicle and drove a few blocks away to 13th Street East, where paramedics were called. Police say they are looking for the suspect, who was also carrying a black and red knife. Prince Albert police investigating after a truck slammed into the co-op on 5th Avenue East. Police say the vehicle hit a gas pump before hitting the side of the building just after 3 o'clock this afternoon. 2 people in the vehicle were taken to hospital. Several people were taken to hospital after a house fire in Regina this morning. The fire department received the call just after 8 o'clock. When crews arrived, flames were shooting from both the main floor and second floor windows. 4 adults and 2 children escaped the house. 1 child suffered severe burns, and a 17-year-old is listed in critical but stable condition. The others are suffering from smoke inhalation. 22 firefighters were on scene. Provincial politicians are away from the legislature for the summer, but there's still time to discuss the latest budget update. The government's year-end fiscal report shows a $250 million deficit. But as Wayne Mantika explains, it's drawing criticism over a sharp increase in spending.
It's my honor today to...
The provincial government came very close to what it forecast in its 2024-25 provincial budget. The final report was released on Monday.
You know, what we see as a government, you can see why they sort of slid this out on Monday before Canada Day without any fanfare, is that it makes clear that they overspent by $1 billion.
The province ended the fiscal year on March 30th with a $249 million operating deficit, about a $25 million improvement over what was projected in the budget a year ago. Spending was up nearly $1 billion, with healthcare a major contributing factor, but that was offset by increased revenue.
That they failed to balance the budget and failed to properly address the real big challenges that Saskatchewan people face.
In a written statement, the provincial government said it ended the year second in Canada for economic growth. It said the government of Saskatchewan continues to make investments that deliver on what people of Saskatchewan have said is important to them: affordability, healthcare, education, community safety, and fiscal responsibility. Going forward, the government is projecting a balanced budget for this year, with spending at $21 billion, about what it actually spent last year. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
Saskatchewan's newest bus service has hit the highway. FlixBus is now officially operating, and some of the first Saskatchewan riders spoke with CTV's Hallie Mandrick.
A new transit bus has many people in Saskatchewan excited to hit the road.
The time getting from one city to another, it cut it down a lot. Obviously, being on a budget, we're both students, my partner and I, so having this affordable option was actually really awesome.
FlixBus currently offers transportation between North Battleford, Saskatoon, and Regina. Tickets range from $30 to $60 one way, depending on the destination. And those who spoke with CTV say it's a cost-effective alternative to buying a plane ticket.
For a plane ticket, it was going to cost me about $500. That just wasn't feasible right now. So this cost me about $100. Yeah, and it's been great so far.
Instead of paying $300 for a flight last minute, $60 to take a bus, 5 hours, it's worth it.
It's a welcomed addition to the province after the Saskatchewan Transport Company shut down in 2017. Bus riders say not everyone is able to drive a car from one place to another, and easily accessible transit can make a big difference.
For people like me, I don't want to drive. I'm a senior. I'm 75, yeah, and so I don't want to really drive that long distance in case something goes wrong with the vehicle.
Bus riders emphasized how the significant physical distance between most Canadian cities is a major barrier when it comes to getting around.
I'm from BC, so being out here, obviously it's a little bit more on the rural side of things, so being able to explore, I guess, other parts of Canada this quick was definitely beneficial to other people.
Connecting cities is important. As a Canadian, I want to be able to go across different parts of Canada, and so by having different forms of transportation to allow me to do that, I think is a really great thing.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
A woman originally from Saskatoon, now living in BC, just swam across the English Channel. And as Carla Shinkerick tells us, she relied on the words of her late father, Kelly Bowers, for inspiration.
Bowers just completed one of the ultimate swimming challenges in the world.
I swam across the English Channel. I swam from near Dover to Wissant, which is on the French Opal Coast. It was a swim that took me 16 hours and 33 minutes.
She's originally from Saskatoon, now living in BC, and had hoped to set out to complete the challenge in September for her 50th birthday, but it was called off because of bad conditions. So she set out again on June 30th.
It's a really mythical sort of swim, the pinnacle of the sport, and it's always, since I was a kid, it's always held a lot of interest for me.
Bowers' last name might sound familiar to some in Saskatoon, as her dad was Kelly Bowers, who passed away in 2019. He was an inspirational teacher and coach in the community. It was his wise words that kept her going during the approximately 40-kilometer swim.
He had two sayings that he used to say to me all the time, and everyone will probably have heard these before. And the first one was, keep plugging. So you just keep going, keep plugging. And then the second one is, you got to be tough. That was the main one that I sort of repeat over in my head. You got to be tough.
She admits she thought about giving up after intense jellyfish stings on her face and arms and general fatigue, but she persevered.
When I was getting closer to France, that's where the tide really kicked in. And so I was sort of swimming in place for what felt like a really long time, and had to still keep up my stroke rate so that I'd eventually kind of push past it.
She raised money with a GoFundMe page. So far, she's a bit short of her goal of $10,000. Money is going to jumpstart a charity close to her dad's heart.
Is because it was really important to my dad that all kids would have access to do the sports and activities that they love without any financial barriers.
And she doesn't rule out doing this swim again.
It was a really good experience. I don't actually feel that bad. I just have a bit of like salt tongue.
Carla Shinkerick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
Still to come, how the Canadian auto sector could play a key role in the upcoming trade talks with the U.S. Also, a major verdict in the case of rap star Sean Diddy Combs. You're watching CTV News live from downtown Saskatoon. Thanks for staying with us tonight. The countdown is on to reach a trade deal with the U.S. by July 21st. Today, Prime Minister Carney sat down with top industry executives with a focus on Canada's auto sector. CTV's Michael Couture now on what came up during those talks.
Inside the Prime Minister's office, Mark Carney huddled for an hour with the Canadian CEOs of GM, Ford, Stellantis, and the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association. When it was done, François-Philippe Champagne said little about the discussion.
We had a very good meeting talking about the industry, and we've been very, very clear. We're always going to be there to support the workers and the industry.
He refused to say whether or not the federal government will keep the electric vehicle mandate. By next year, 20% of new passenger vehicles sold in Canada must be either battery-powered or hybrid. It was something car makers clearly wanted to discuss ahead of the meeting.
EV mandate itself is not sustainable. The targets that have been established cannot be met, and that will be part of the discussion.
Those in the industry say EVs currently account for 9% of total sales. And if they fall short, Flavio Volpe says it's the car companies that pay.
And to sell regular combustion units, they've got to buy a credit from some company that's earned it, or spend $20,000 per unit on charging infrastructure.
On top of that, those same car companies continue to deal with 25% tariffs from the U.S. Now, there is a carve-out for components that are built in America through the integrated supply chain. Still, Canadian auto exports in the U.S. fell by 23% in April.
They make 6 or 7% a year of profit. If there is a tariff in for 5, 10, 25%, it makes those operations untenable.
According to a readout from the Prime Minister's office, the meeting also looked at ways to make Canada's auto sector more sustainable and competitive in the face of shifting trading relationships, something that could be more urgent if Canada isn't able to strike a trade deal with the U.S. in the next 19 days. Michael Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
A bombshell verdict after 13 hours of deliberation in the high-profile case against rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs. The music industry icon was acquitted of the more serious charges of sex trafficking and racketeering, but convicted of prostitution-related offenses. CTV's Adrian Gabriel on the downfall of the former American rapper and what happens next.
Waving and smiling, the Combs family exited this New York City federal court. As protesters came face to face with supporters of Sean Diddy Combs, emotions running at a fever pitch, just moments after the jury delivered their split verdict. Delivered on the third day of deliberations, the jury of 8 men and 4 women declared the 55-year-old Combs not guilty of 1 count of racketeering conspiracy and 2 counts of sex trafficking by force, but guilty of the lesser charges of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. Combs, who's already been incarcerated for 10 months, could still face considerable prison time. At sentencing, each of the prostitution transportation charges carry as much as 10 years behind bars. While Combs' lawyer declined to comment, multiple criminal law experts are declaring today a victory for the former hip-hop mogul.
It's absolutely a win. The defense took a really big gamble going to trial on this case.
The prosecution called 34 witnesses to the stand, multiple ex-girlfriends, including singer Cassie Ventura, who claimed that Combs forced her to engage in sexual encounters called, quote, freak-offs and hotel nights. Jurors watched this 2016 hotel video of Combs dragging and kicking her. Ventura's lawyer stopped short of calling today a victory for his client.
We're pleased that he's finally been held responsible for 2 federal crimes, something that he's never faced in his life. He still faces substantial jail time. Of course, we would have liked to have seen a conviction on the sex crimes in RICO, but we understand beyond a reasonable doubt is a high standard.
With this decision, Combs avoids a possible life sentence. Moments after the verdict was read out, his family began to cheer in the courtroom as the one-time music star appeared to fall to his knees in prayer. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Washington.
Alberta has a new provincial police service. The province's Premier Danielle Smith says the service will deliver on her promise to improve policing in Alberta. Smith says Alberta is preparing and acting instead of waiting and reacting, as the federal government could decide to redirect the RCMP away from contract policing. All right, Jeff. So with that warmth comes some warnings and watches for us.
Yes, and plenty of them. They're all over the map, and we are going to show you those later on. But we do have watches and warnings in place. Severe thunderstorm warnings, severe thunderstorm watches, and a lot of heat warnings in place. So not a surprise with the warm temperatures. But let's take a look at our numbers and see if there's anything surprising here. 29 degrees right now. That is our daytime high, and that's our current temperature, and quite breezy. So hot and windy right now in Saskatoon. 26 degrees in Prince Albert, winds out of the south-southeast at 24 clicks, and a similar wind speed and direction, but a little bit warmer in the Battlefords under sunny skies. The almanac for Saskatoon, let's take a look. 29 degrees for the highs I just mentioned, 5 degrees above seasonal, but 4 degrees below the record temperature set in 1986, and the 2nd of July, 1967, one day after our centennial. It was a cold day in Saskatoon, 2 degrees. The sun came up at 4:51. It's going to go down at 9:30.
Coming up, Shania Twain helps to feed a Saskatchewan city, and how Saskatoon celebrated the nation's birthday.
All right, welcome back. Taking a look at our skyline. Well, we've got ourselves a little bit of thin cloud out there, but it has been such a hot day, and there might be the chance of some showers or thunderstorms rolling in, so I won't be surprised to see these clouds thicken up as we go along. But let's take a look and see what we've got going on our satellite and radar shot here. Keeping our eye on all this active weather. It extends way down into the desert south of the United States, is certainly in the Northern California area along the mountains there as you get into Nevada. But yeah, a huge area of active weather that's impacting Saskatchewan as well. We're hoping that this does not turn into lightning storms. We will take the rain, though, in northern Saskatchewan. There's no question about that. 29 in Saskatoon, 26 in Prince Albert, and 27 in the Battlefords. On to our hotspot in the province, 37 big degrees in Val-Marie today. The cold spot, Collins Bay, at just 3 degrees. Around the province we go, and currently it is 27 degrees in Yorkton and Lloydminster, 30 in Swift Current, Moose Jaw, and Regina, 29 in Estevan. Making our way into the central part of the province for our closer look here. Temperatures in the mid 20s into the high 20s, up to 30 degrees in Meadow Lake. It's 27 in a number of locations, 26 in Wynyard and Nipawin and Watrous. So yes, some warm temperatures out there, 26 as well in Spiritwood. Up north, not too shabby, 17 degrees in Key Lake. They may have had some rain in the area. 20 degrees in Stony Rapids, 22 in Collins Bay, 20 as well in Buffalo Narrows, but 27 right now in La Ronge and 25 in Sandy Bay, Island Falls. And down south, many locations at 30 degrees or hotter. It does cool off, but into the high 20s, so that's plenty hot. The coolest spot on this part of our map is 26, and that's in Broadview. On to our futurecast. Well, the computer modeling indicating that, yes, we do expect to see some intense weather moving through northern Saskatchewan in the overnight period. And then we'll have to keep our eye on what we see brewing up in Alberta and see whether or not that low-pressure area swirls its way into Saskatchewan in any kind of significant fashion. So here, we've got a couple of our maps here. So first of all, we can tell you all those red areas, of course, are heat warnings. There are, looks like, some tornado watches in Alberta. But for Saskatchewan, some air quality alerts. And then we do have some extreme thunderstorm warnings in place. And those include areas around Pinehouse, Beauval, and Isla Cross, Lucky Lake, and then down towards the southern part of the province in the Elrose, Rosetown area. So watch boxes in a lot of other places as well. So some interesting conditions, to say the least. Around the province for Thursday, a chance of some showers and thunderstorms in the Stony Rapids area tomorrow. Just expecting some showers in Key Lake, chance of that. Then into west central Saskatchewan with a mix of sky conditions, temperatures around 27 or 28 degrees. Warmer as we get into southwestern Saskatchewan at temperatures at 30 or slightly into the low 30s there. A similar temperature pattern in the southeastern part of the province, 34 for highs in Regina and Moose Jaw. Regina, 34. George Reed, woo! 31 degrees in Melfort and Humboldt, 33 for Watrous on Thursday, 32 for Hudson Bay, and for the Battlefords dropping down to 15 with a chance of showers and a risk of a thunderstorm tonight. 27 tomorrow for a high, but then things drop off to 21 on Friday, 22 on Saturday, Sunday, 23, and not much of a change, but it does come with a chance of showers and about a 40% chance on Monday, and then warming up to 31 1 week from today. For Prince Albert area, again, a 60% chance of showers, risk of a thunderstorm tonight. The overnight temperature of 15, 31 degrees on Thursday, and then dropping off to 23 on Friday, staying that way on Saturday, Sunday, not much change, or on Monday, temperature-wise, but we do have a chance of showers and a risk of a thunderstorm, getting up to 31 with sunshine on Wednesday. And Saskatoon's overnight temperature expected to drop to 18 degrees, 60% chance of showers with a risk of a thunderstorm, mainly cloudy skies on Thursday, but it's going to be hot, and a moderate wind, we'll say, winds out of the west at 20, and then cooling off significantly on Friday. Friday, a windy day, wind gusts up around 50 clicks, winds out of the northeast, and then temperatures don't vary all that much until we get to Tuesday, but on Monday, we do have a chance of some showers and a risk of a thunderstorm. Shania Twain is helping to battle hunger as she prepares to perform in Moose Jaw next week. She is donating $25,000. That, in with partnership with Second Harvest, will help provide 75,000 meals to local families in need. The donation is part of a $125,000 commitment by the Shania Twain Foundation to help stop hunger in 5 Canadian cities and 7 in the U.S. during her summer tour. Shania Twain will be in Moose Jaw's Event Center on July 7th. Jennifer Aniston will star in a new series based on the memoir, I'm Glad My Mom Died. The series will stream on Apple TV+. According to the streamer, the dramedy will recount former child star Jeanette McCurdy's struggles dealing with her mother, which will be played by Aniston. McCurdy starred in the Nickelodeon sitcom iCarly. She is set to write, produce, and showrun the new series. Aniston will serve as executive producer.
say toot fart? I did not.
Another Saturday Night Live alumnus is stepping into the imaginative world of Dr. Seuss. Bill Hader will be lending his voice to the iconic role of the Cat in the Hat in an upcoming animated film. The trailer shows the Dr. Seuss character trying to cheer up a pair of siblings who are struggling with a move to a new town. It will be the first feature film from the animation wing of Warner Brothers Pictures. The Cat in the Hat is set for release in February. Let's hope it fares better than the live-action Mike Myers version from 2003.
All right, Jeff, you were out at the Broadway Theatre today.
I certainly was, and getting ready for a big show. Hearts for the North, a special presentation at the Broadway Theatre on July 4th. With me are Forrest and Daryl. We're going to find out about the show. But first of all, what is Hearts for the North?
So Hearts for the North is a fundraiser for the northern wildfires. All of the proceeds that we raise are going to be donated directly to Comfy, which will then be dispersed to the evacuees because, yeah, the situation isn't quite over.
No, not at all, not at all. Now, you, of course, are the North Sound, you and your partner. And you'll be performing for people who haven't heard the North Sound. How do you describe it?
Yeah, so we're kind of like Americana, alternative country. We really lean into the storytelling and just sharing our story and trying to create a shared experience and connection through that.
All right. And Daryl, 8-track throwback. I can kind of guess what the music is, but tell me.
We're basically classic rock at its finest. Anything 70s is probably on the set list.
You have to explain to a lot of people what an 8-track is?
An 8-track is an old medium of listening to music in your vehicle where you needed a pack of matches to make sure you could get it to run constantly. If you understand that, you understand 8-track.
All right, fine. There's a few other people on the lineup. Could you tell us those names?
Yeah, we got a great list of people. We have, 8-track throwback, Eliza Mary Doyle, Ray the Nihilist, and Former Lovers. It's gonna be a great night. Lots of different styles.
Lots of different styles, and you're raising money for a very important cause. BroadwayTheater.ca for your tickets, and it's coming up on July the 4th.
All right, Jeff, time for Pick of the Day, and we've had so many photos of Canada Day festivities coming in.
That's right. You know what? We'll show some more tomorrow. We had to keep it to 3, so let's start off with this one. This has a great story behind it, and you can barely see the person in the window there. I assume that's the person who sent this in. But Doug McKinnell from Osler, he says, "Hi, Jeff. 21 years ago, I applied for a Peace Tower flag. This one was flown atop the Peace Tower March 18th and 19th, 2025, and I received it on June 30th, and I had to display it on Canada Day. I hope everyone had a great day of celebrating our great nation." And we certainly did, and that is impressive. First of all, it's not surprising that it's so big because it flies over the Peace Tower in Ottawa, but to wait 21 years and it arrives the day before Canada Day, very cool. So thanks for sharing that with us, Doug. The next one's from Alana. This was taken near Pelican Point near Cochin, and she says, "I make one-of-a-kind wreaths for different holidays. I made this one to show our Canadian pride for Canada Day. This one is hanging out at my parents' lake home, and that looks great." And finally, I'm adding the sound effects. This is from Joan Alman. She often sends us pictures, and we really like this one. "Great Canada Day celebrations complete with a fantastic barbecue on the patio and front row seats for the fireworks." And that is a great shot. So, Joan, thank you for sharing that image. And if you'd like to share an image with us, you can do so by sending it to cfqcnews@ctv.ca.
Still to come on CTV News Saskatoon on what it means to be Canadian, how Canadian citizens and those who hope to be marked Canada Day. People gathered in communities across the country yesterday to mark Canada's 158th birthday. Hallie Mandrick took in the celebrations in Saskatoon.
Thousands of people visited the west bank of the South Saskatchewan River in Saskatoon on Tuesday, and the event had something for everyone.
Honestly, food, patriotism, fireworks, all the fun stuff.
After an opening prayer and smudge to acknowledge the Indigenous people who are on this land first, visitors had a chance to celebrate what they believe it means to be Canadian.
To be Canadian, I think, is living in a free country, allowed to do what you want, enjoy what you want, and have fun.
I'm a bit of a farm kid, so for me it's like hunting and going fishing and doing all
all of those things, like being out in the wilderness, enjoying our great beauty.
We are not Canadian yet, but we are trying to be. We came like 2 years back, but we like Saskatoon a lot, Canada a lot, and we are, it is a very warm and welcoming country. We are having a good time.
The day is full of activities for people of all ages to enjoy. A particular favorite for many is the evening fireworks show.
Yeah, I want to see them.
Yeah, what's your favorite part about them?
Sparkly colors.
It's usually the fireworks, and sometimes there's like really good music and dancing happening, so that's always fun.
The festivities along the river have become an annual tradition for many families.
It's always fun and our river landing always, so we always look forward to it, and importantly the fireworks.
Hallie Mandrick, CTV News, Saskatoon.
When we come back, how the Riders could look going into their next matchup. And later, the dazzling display that lit up Saskatoon's night sky.
All right, let's take a look at our rural forecast as we make our way into Thursday. Well, it's going to be hot again. We said so earlier on in the broadcast. 24 for Lloydminster, 26 in Meadow Lake, but then we start getting into the high 20s, low 30s, so roasty and toasty in many locations. And that is true of southern Saskatchewan as well as we make our way down towards the Trans-Canada and southward. As you can see, is everyone at 30 or more? No. Rosetown is at 29. Otherwise, all these locations are expected to hit 30 or hotter. And does that include Pontex? Well, of course it does. 33 degrees for Pontex tomorrow, partly cloudy skies and a bit of a breezy day, so a warm and windy day in Pontex. And Pontex is one of the places where internet plans of up to 1 gig are available from SaskTel.
Welcome to another edition of X's and O's with Wes Cates. Riders are on a bye week, but we're going to recap the first quarter of the season with Wes. And, you know, Wes, it really seems like there's a two-tiered CFL right now. You've got the Riders, Bombers, and Alouettes at the top, and then everyone else. What are your thoughts on what you've seen from Saskatchewan, once again, rattling off 4 wins to start the season?
Yeah, Lee, well, you talk about that top tier with the Riders putting them in there with, you know, the Alouettes and the Bombers. It's a little tough because, you know, the Alouettes and Bombers have won a championship recently, so I think a lot of people are questioning if the Riders really belong there, deserve to be in that conversation. You look at their competition these first few weeks, a lot of people are saying, oh, it was the bottom of the East, or you know, teams didn't really have their best foot forward, like going against BC this past game with, you know, their quarterback being out. And, yeah, it's just going to be tough to see. I guess we're just going to have to love the record and wait for, you know, that type of competition in the schedule that's going to appease the doubters. Right now, I feel like the Riders are doing everything they need to do, not winning convincingly all the time, but they are getting a W, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, that part in the schedule will be Labor Day, basically. Winnipeg, Winnipeg, Montreal. That's a big 3-game stretch that might really show where the Riders are right now. Offensively, I mean, Trevor Harris is Trevor Harris, but A.J. Ouellette has been quite the surprise. He was injured last year. Looked like he was going to have injury problems again, but he's really fired it off in the last 3 games. In fact, he is the first Riders running back to get 3 25-plus runs in 3 straight games. The last person to do that was in 2007, Wes Cates. So it's been a while since somebody's been able to do that in 3 straight games. But what are your thoughts on Ouellette all of a sudden?
Hey, I think it's great to see him healthy. I think that was the biggest thing. Everybody knew before him coming over to Saskatchewan. When it was offseason, we saw that he got signed. Everybody was excited because they knew the potential of this player. But he was hobbled his first year, then come back next year. So it still wasn't right. And now you're seeing a healthy Ouellette. He really dedicated himself to the offseason, lost that weight, and came in really prepared to have a good season. Of course, it's always the offensive line has lined up. There's a lot of depth, a lot of experience at the offensive line. Jamarcus Hardrick leading the way there, you know, and then some young Canadians that are also playing above maybe what's been expected. So I think you pair those 2 things together, a great offensive line that's staying relatively healthy, along with a healthy A.J. Ouellette, and you're seeing what you're seeing.
By the way, that stat's brought to you by Rider historian Rob Vanstone. I don't know how he dug that one up, but he was able to find that stat for you, Wes. Quickly on the defense, though, once again, turnovers being important for this team, and at the right time, too. Milligan's touchdown interception really turned that game in Hamilton, and then Tavon Campbell, the interception late in the first half against the BC Lions, really, that was a 10-point swing. BC was in field goal range if they didn't score a touchdown.
Oh, man, it's been huge, Lee, and it's really been those defensive turnovers, timely turnovers, have been the thing that has really put the Riders over the hump. You look at some of these games, you know, and it's CFL. There's great competition on every roster. So the way the Riders have kind of persevered and then made those big plays when they need to, I think is great. You know, Tavon Campbell, that pick six, you look at it, if BC scores there even a field goal, they go in up at half. So for him to kind of get that walk-off halftime touchdown, pick six, was just a momentum swing, and the Riders clearly carried that into the, you know, into the rest of the game or into the second half. So, you know, U of R kid, he's, you know, a veteran, gone down to the States and everything else. I like some of the U of R kids that have been on this roster. I actually want to see Deshaun Mims maybe get in the action with some of this receiver injury situation we got going on.
Of course, with the bye week, maybe we might see, you know, Sean Bain
return.
You know, MLS on the one-game injured list. We'll see. They might come back next week when they face the Calgary Stampeders, and of course Trevor Harris very likely back in the lineup. But next week we will get you set for that Calgary Stampeder game on another edition of X's and O's.
Shares of Bombardier are taking off today after the Canadian aerospace company announced a multi-billion-dollar sale. Marilla Fernandez explains.
Shares shot up more than 20% after the deal was made public, making Bombardier the biggest mover on the TSX today. Bombardier stock was boosted by a new order for 50 of its Challenger and Global jets. The deal includes servicing the aircraft, making it worth $1.7 million U.S. The Canadian jet maker isn't identifying the first-time buyer. The major North American markets had record closes again today. But let's start with the Canadian dollar. It is up, hitting 73.61. West Texas Intermediate is up close to $2 to 67.38. Our fix on Western Canadian Select has it down to 53.44. And the TSX only moved 12 points, but it was another record close, finishing the trading day at 26,869. Those are your business headlines. I'm Marilla Fernandez.
Coming up, Saskatoon celebrates Canada Day with a bang. And how our CTV colleagues spent their long weekend celebrating.
Select Hair Service is brought to you by Sage, the beauty bar.
Stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here tonight on CTV. Well, Saskatoon's Canada Day celebrations were capped off with a fireworks show last night. This is a look at the show from the Gather local area near River Landing. Fireworks were set off from Rotary Park. And of course, people lining the traffic bridge, River Landing, and nearby paths to take in the festivities. And this is all courtesy of you.
Well, thank you. Yes, it is. I happened to have my phone handy, and so yes, we took some pictures. So yeah, no, it was a terrific display, and you know, thanks to the organizers. You know, I expected a bit more applause from my fellow viewers when we at the end there. It's like, come on, you didn't pay anything for this. Applaud a little bit, would you?
I know you like fireworks. So.
I love it. Yeah. Love it.
All right. Well, while many of us were celebrating Canada Day the last day or so, a couple of our colleagues had an extra occasion to mark. This is Lucas Paul Siona, our coworker from CTV Morning Live, Mike Siona, and his wife welcoming their third child on June 25th at 12:50 a.m. He tipped the scales at 8 pounds, 6 ounces, measuring 22 inches. All is well. Mom, baby, Mike, and 2 older sisters are all doing well. So
that is great.
Congratulations. And a special congratulations going out to our Stacy Hines. She married her college sweetheart, Easton, on Saturday on her family farm in the Prince Albert area. And Jeff, you came through for them. She said it rained in the morning and in the evening, but for their outdoor ceremony, it was picture perfect, the perfect temperature, barely any wind, and they got some sun.
Believe me, I was sweating that forecast all week long.
Yeah.
Yes, because I said, oh yeah, it's going to be great. And it was like, as the week went along, I was like, that doesn't look like it's going to be great.
You brought the rain here instead.
So. Yeah, exactly. And it was a good thing.
Yeah. Exactly. So congratulations.
Absolutely, absolutely. Quick look at our numbers for tomorrow. We have ourselves a morning that starts off with bing bong. Hey, I got to pay the bill on this one. I don't know why it popped up. There it is. 24 degrees tomorrow morning, but a mid-afternoon about 29, rather 29 by 5 o'clock. Mid-afternoon about 31 degrees, and it is going to be another hot day in store.
And lots of attention to be paid to the skies.
Yeah, absolutely, because tonight we might see a thunderstorm a number of different places.
Thanks for watching.